Queen Infinity. Once upon a time in the land of Zizzamanbee lived the prettiest queen of all, and her name was Infinity. Some folks wonder why they called her that. It's because she grew prettier every day. Imagine that. Along with her beauty, her knowledge and wisdom grew too. How it did for sure, no one really knew. But we know this is a fact, and it's true to be. She had the largest library that you ever did see. Some speculate, and people would say she read a book and sometimes two every single day. Every day at noon in Zizzamanbee, everyone turned on their Zizzabox, kind of like our TV. And there they would find Queen Infinity reading a book for all to hear and see. Everyone, and I mean everyone, in Zizzamanbee learned reading was fun, important, and key. This may not be strange to you or anyone else you see, but there is much you don't know about Zizzamanbee. What was so strange and what shocked the world is that Queen Infinity was just a small girl. How old she was exactly, I don't rightly know. She was older than 5, but not yet 12, though. She became queen at a very young age. It's a whole other story entirely, and to tell it would take days. What I can tell you is, one night, at the stroke of 12, as the bellfire in the library was tolling its bells, from the royal chamber they heard a big boom. And when the guards ran into her parrot's room, all they found were their shiny royal shoes. No capes, no clothes, no scepters, no crowns, just their royal shoes, and the sheets were turned down. With her parents gone and being the only child, it was standard law she'd inherit the crown. Although sad her parents were gone, she stepped up to the plate and was determined as a queen she'd do her best to be great. Even though she was young, she ruled her country well. You ask any Zizzamanbean and they'd be quick to tell. I love the Queen of Zizzamanbee. She does so great by us, you see. She sits up high but looks down low, and is not full of herself like her uncle, you know. Her uncle was mean. He was spiteful and openly feared. Her uncle was the king of rerelease. His name was King Arrogant. When he said something, it's what he meant. You couldn't tell him he wasn't a genius because he had the power to send you to Venus. King Arrogant wasn't very tall, and you know what else? His brain was super small. The love of reading was the exact opposite in his land. There were only a few books in his whole kingdom because reading was banned. King Arrogant hated reading so much, he burned every book he ever read or touched. Now, between me and you, that sounds really bad, but he's read one book his whole life, and two's all he's ever had. He considered himself the world's smartest man, simply because he was the smartest man in his land. He'd stand up and say, "You all listen to me. I'm the smartest man that could ever be. I know the whole alphabet from A to P." But what your highness didn't know is the alphabet ended in Z. He couldn't tell red from yellow or black from blue, and folks often wonder why he was so confused. The rumor was, after one day of pre-K, he said he had enough schooling to last him all his days. Then later in life, he went to kindergarten for a week and then dropped out because he said he was too smart to teach. That was all the schooling he had. We think that's why he's so bitter and mad. You ask any person who's ever lived in this land, any girl, boy, woman, or man, who is your least favorite person on the planet Earth? Just yell the name that comes to your mind first. You can bet your very last cent that all of their answers would be King Arrogant. A simple side note, I think it's important we let it be known that the population of rerelease is 1 person and 8 dogs. Each dog was named a number, so King Arrogant would never have to wonder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And each number hung off their neck on a shiny gold plate. There used to be 9 dogs that King Arrogant owned, but an awful thing happened while he was off his throne. King Arrogant went away on a trip for a long time, and while he was gone, dog 7, 8, 9. When he returned, he was sad to see dog 9's fate, and so he went from 9 dogs down to only 8. King Arrogant wanted things done his way and would never, and I mean never, listen to what others would say. This is why there were no people in his land. They all packed up and moved closer to other family and friends. His citizens would bring him their written concerns, and he set their concerns on fire and watched them burn. "That's what I think of your concerns," he'd say. "Come again anytime and have a nice day." So King Arrogant was pleased doing things his way, and while walking through the forest on a bright sunny day, he came to a clearing and looked up in a tree, and there he saw Queen Infinity. Sitting in a tree and reading a book, she politely invited her uncle to look. I hate reading, as a matter of fact, and everyone around would swear to that. I cannot read or say the proper vowels. I had trouble with it growing up and have the same troubles right now. Are you trying to make a fool of me?
No, this book has some incredible pictures I wanted you to see.
I don't want to see your pictures. I don't want to see your book. I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to look. I despise reading to the highest degree. You're lucky I don't have my axe, or I'd chop down this tree. Then I'd take the wood and your precious book and create a bonfire so people could look. Then they'd know that your book and tree are good for kindling and nothing else, and to think you have thousands of books upon your pretty golden shelves. Ha! It's foolishness, I say. Makes me laugh. You remind me so much of your dad. He'd say, you should read this, and you should read that. I feel all this reading stuff is a bunch of crap. Your dad said reading would make me big, and I read one book, and it never did. That's why I hate reading so much, and I will burn any book that I will ever touch.
Well, reading one book didn't make you grow, and the second may not either. And after books 3 and 4, you won't be a teacher. Books 5 and 6 may not be great, and I can't make any promises about books 7 and 8. The important thing about reading is that it's done, but you may not feel any growth until about book 101. But that shouldn't stop you from reading book number 2. Who knows what can happen or what you may do? You may pick up your second book and something may just click. For all we know, reading may just be your gift. But I can say this for sure, without any doubt. If you never pick up that second book, you will never find out. The beautiful thing when you pull a book off a shelf is that you can decide to be someone else. You can look into new worlds and see what they see and feel what they feel. You can become so engrossed to the point that it all feels real. You can escape to new places when everyone's around. A good book can put your mind in a place where your body can't be found. You can be the hero or the villain, or neither if you want. The fact you can put yourself in another's place really is the point. And all of this you miss because you won't take a look in a simple, teeny, tiny, but powerful book. Don't deprive yourself or let your future be controlled by your fear. You're missing out on a life of fun, joyfulness, and cheer. But don't take my word for it or anybody else's. This is the kind of thing you have to experience for yourself. So open a book and take a look, and don't let the words cause you fright. Just look at the pictures and make up a story, and for now that will be all right.
I am a bit scared and I don't know the words, and so many of them I've never even heard. I don't know them by sight and I can't sound them out, and if I stutter or mess up, I'll get talked about.
I know learning is not your thing and there is no one in your land, but if you want help, I could give you a hand.
It is too late for me to learn to read, so I just work on being mean. Some have sports, you have books. I invite you to give being mean a second look. I've got this down to a science, you know. Just as sure as gas combustion will make a car go, it comes from within me, from a place deep and dark. It's like that guy I heard you once talk about on the Zizzabox, René Descartes. I think I mean, therefore I mean. It's my reality. It's not a dream. The world has problems. We know this is true. Figuring out our role is what we must do. Some people feel to change the world that doing good is the best solution. I give them something to work towards. That's my contribution. I'm the yin to the yang, the dark to the light, the minus to the plus, and the wrong to the right. I have purpose, and my purpose I must nurse. I bring balance to this wonderful universe. You stay up in this tree, and I'll be right back. I'm going to get my 8 dogs and a very sharp axe. She waited for him to leave her sight and came down the tree because it was almost night. Her feet hit the ground, and she ran out the woods, zooming back to her castle as quickly as she could. She arrived at her castle nearly out of breath. There was a guy coming down the hill on a contraption to her left. The guards jumped in front of her and yelled, "Halt! You've been warned!" And a small voice screamed, "Wait! Don't fire! I mean you no harm!" "I have a message for the queen, and I've come a long way. I've ridden my Planisoccle, and it's taken me 3 whole days. Without this machine, my king calculated that 5.5 times those days is how long my journey would have taken. His calculations were true and definitely right. He said I arrive on the 3rd day before night, and here I am standing before you and your guards and these beautiful fountains. I come in peace, with greetings from my home in the Abacus Mountains." I have a special message sent from my wise king, which can only be viewed by your wonderful queen. He pulled out a package that was shaped like a book and gave it to the guards so they could take a look. They opened the package and inside was a box, a perfect gold cube, and on it 5 locks. On one side of the cube there was a numeral 1, and under it read, "Place in the direction of the setting sun."
How do I open the box?
Asked the queen. The messenger shrugged and said, "Beats me." He said to give you the package and you'll know what to do. Oh, here is a letter and inside are the clues. He said as much as you read, you'll figure it out. You have all the prior knowledge you need with no doubt. He said this one thing was pertinently necessary. You must open it tonight in the center of your library. Something about the full moon shining through the top of the dome. Oh, and he said to make sure when you read this letter that you do it alone. Well, I've delivered the package and now I'm off. I have my trusty maps for navigation so I won't get lost. He took out a funny-shaped bottle and unscrewed his gas tank. Infinity said,
I appreciate your coming, and please sing your king my thanks. I didn't catch your name.
Because I didn't throw it. Once you get inside the gold box, I promise you'll know it.
Do you want to stay tonight? You have to go back such a long way.
Thanks for the invitation, but I'll be okay. I have special fuel that makes my cycle super-powered. Prince Pi said it will get me home and save me a couple hours. Well, let me tell you what he actually said. The kingdom was big on math. He said, I'll not let hours or minutes but seconds light your path. If you know the base, then this is a simple lesson. To get home will take you approximately 129,600 seconds. I haven't done the calculations or figured it out in my mind, but I feel like in comparison to get here, it'll only take 4/8 the time. I must be going and get on my way. I know for sure it's going to take me more than a day. And when I get home, I must sleep and shower. The king's birthday party is in exactly 48 hours. Queen Infinity reached under her robe and into her pack and gave him 2 books to give to his king when he got back. My king loves books. He'll appreciate these. And his planicycle shot off with lightning speed. Queen Infinity raced through the gates and up to her room. Night had fallen and she could see the rising full moon. She took off her robe, which resembled a cape, and ran down the hall to her favorite place. The library guard saw her coming and opened the doors. She slid in on her knees, and to make sure they were closed, she yelled to the guards to be certain she was heard.
No one is to come here and I will not be disturbed.
She got off her knees with the letter in the cube, then walked to the table in the center of the room. She put the cube down and put on her thinking sweater, then sat down in the chair and opened the letter.
Dear Queen Infinity, I don't think you'll remember me. I'm about 4 years older than you, and when I visited with my parents, you were only 2. Our fathers were friends, and I want you to know, my dad felt that friendship is essential to the soul. My parents talked about your parents all the time. I can still hear their stories playing in my mind. Dad said if I ever got in a fix and didn't know what to do, on the faith of their friendship, I should reach out to you. So I'm reaching out in need of your help. I don't think I can talk to anyone else. We are going to have to sit and talk. I think the disappearance of your parents was my parents' fault. Before you get upset, let me explain. I know their loss has caused you great pain. We both share a heavy burden, you and I do. I am a child ruler, and my parents are missing too. My parents were working hard to be the first, to create a machine to transport people throughout the universe. They've been working on it since before I was born, and just got it to where it wouldn't cause those transported any harm. While running some tests, there was a scream from my mom and dad, which prompted the royal guards to charge into the lab. When the guards got inside, everything was thrown around. The lab was in ruins and my parents nowhere to be found. The machine was gone and the plans to build it too. All that was left were their lab coats, crowns, goggles, and royal shoes. I know you're putting it together, and this is the part you have to hear. This all happened 6 months before your parents disappeared. I miss my parents so much, and day by day I get better. But I'm sure wherever our parents are, they are there together. Now let's get to why you have this special box, and more importantly, how you can get it unlocked. I created that cube especially for you, and to get inside, here's what you must do. If all is gone as planned, then it should be night. Place the cube in the center on the table to catch the full moon's light. Remember the directions that were placed on the cube? Make sure that is exactly what you do. It's easy to open the lock at the top, turn it to this even number, and stop. This number is an easy one to figure out. It's the number of teeth in an adult's mouth. If you don't have it, here's what you do. Take the atomic number of sulfur and multiply it by 2. Want to know if it's right? Here's how you check. It's the same number of bushels in 128 pecks. That number releases a mirror inside the box, and if you get it wrong, you can't release the other locks. Now take that number and multiply it by 4. Add up the digits, then add one more. Take that number and divide by 3, and a single digit is what it should be. To see if you've got the real deal, check the hour hand on the clock on the back of a $100 bill. That number will unlock the east side of the box. Now let's go counterclockwise and deal with that lock. Take the number that unlocks the top and multiply it by 8. Take the square root of that number and then wait. When the light hits the mirror, take the square root one more time. And then take that number and multiply by 9. Now to check if you're right, here's how you see. Lyndon Baines Johnson or find a piano and count the black keys. Now let's move to the opposite pole. Here is the number you're needing to know. Take the numeral engraved on the box and add it to the number that unlocks the top lock. Then add the number that unlocks the east and add to that number 33. That's the number you will need to know. Now you have only one more lock to go. Take the number that opens the south, subtract 10, and you'll have it all figured out. To check if you're correct, here is the clue. It's the number of drops in a teaspoon. If the answer you still can't muster, it's the number of votes it takes to end a filibuster. With those numbers, you can remove the lid.
And that is exactly what she did. She picked up the top and looked inside the box. She was surprised to see a magnificent watch. There was writing and a picture on the bottom of the lid. It said, designed by Signor Quantioso as a special gift. She did a double take, then looked at it twice, and it was the sketch of the guy who came on the funny bike. She put on the watch. It was light as a feather. Then she continued reading and finished the letter.
Inside the box, you'll find a watch that is part of a pair. They've been specially crafted for just us to wear. With these watches, no matter where we are, we can find each other near or far. Also in the box, I put a leaf that only grows on a very specific tree. This leaf is special because it only grows in one land that I heard is ruled by a mean little man. It was found when we swept the lab. There are a few other clues for my mom and dad. I'll bring them along when I come to visit. I'll be there in 10,800 minutes. Keep this to yourself. It's only us we can trust. Your fellow child ruler, King Radius.
She took the letter and the cube and put them in a safe. It was hidden in one of the golden shelves, a great hiding place. She took off her sweater and laid it on the back of a chair and thought she couldn't wait for King Radius to get there. The moon was shining extra bright, and the bookshelves reflected a special gold light. With her gift on her wrist and the riddle solved, her day could now end. She skipped down the hall from her favorite place, excited to have a new friend. She put on her night clothes and took her royal shoes off her feet, said her prayers, and then laid down to sleep, to be